Georgie, welcome to the show. I am so excited to get into this episode, and finally, we've been able to make it happen and align our schedules to record because I picked up your book, Lucky Girl. I've got it here actually with me a number of months ago now. I think it was actually around March or April time. I'm not sure when you released it. And I am all into self development, manifestation, wellness. So it was right up my street. And I know that the listeners will also love it as well if they've not read it. And I'm looking forward to getting into all things Lucky Girl and hearing more about you. So welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. What a lovely intro. It's some it's I launched the book back in end of February, no, March time now, which is crazy to think like where this year's going. And yeah, it's just been such an amazing ride. I've learned so much and met some amazing people like yourself along the way. So yes, thank you for having me on to talk about Lucky Girl today.
Amazing. So I'd love to delve into a little bit more of your origin story because I feel like I don't know a lot of your background, and I know that you'll probably won't be able to go into the full details, but I would love to hear how you got onto this path.
Well, I mean, if you met me a couple of years ago, I would be a very, very different person. I was your classic burnt out party girl, searching for the highs in life and those quick fixes, and also then something to help with those lows as well. And always in the background, I've had ticking away mental health issues and struggles that I just kind of were pushing down and, like I said, turning to drink, turning to going out, filling up my time, keeping busy, and yeah, just being burnt out party girl. And I tried when I got to my lowest point, which was about 10 years ago, in my very early 20s, I just couldn't cope with life anymore. And I really didn't want to be here. I was depressed. I was so anxious. And at one point, and it was in my final year of university, I just couldn't leave the house for 3 months. And I was just complete shadow of myself, different person to who I am talking to you now. And hitting to that low point, I kind of just were so desperate in finding, that magic cure to just ease my pain. And I have always been quite intuitive with myself and spirituality. But so yeah, tried and tested many, many techniques along the way especially the last 10 years. But it was really about 4 years ago, I decided to explore other paths. And that led me into the wonderful, transformative, and weird world of wellness. So, yeah, about 4 years ago, it was COVID and just the lockdown, and I was furloughed through work. And up until that point, I was very much 9 to 5, um, working hard, playing hard. I was at a big social media marketing agency. And yes, it got to COVID. And even before that point, I was just very unfulfilled and yeah, burnt out, kind of on my knees, like working to targets, working for the Friday, and so I could go out and party again. And so really COVID and being furloughed was a bit of a blessing for me, and it was a bit of a turning point. And in that time I took that leap into the wellness space, and I trained in EFT tapping, got my yoga qualifications and clinical reflexology. And then with that, I wanted to start my own business with a mission close to my heart, which was to help others with their own healing paths as well. So doing that through workshops, events, classes, and also working with clients privately, I really have had the privilege of working with so many unique people over the years, and each with their own stories and their own perspective. And then from that, I also created a wellness brand called Glow and Glow, which does a product, which is a tincture I formulated with a medicinal herbalist. So that's infused with mushrooms and adaptogens in some drops. And again, that was developed to aim to help with my ADHD symptoms, but in a more naturopathic sense. And it worked. So I really wanted to put that out to the market and help other people with their own energy levels and overall well-being and supporting that. So I'm still luckily in the marketing world. So I work as a freelancer consultant as well. Life is pretty busy, but I think what I love about it is that I've designed my life to work around me now. So instead of working hard, playing hard, that mentality, I've created a more of a life balance. So something that my younger me could only ever dream of, really. And it's not just about my own journey. So I'm really passionate about breaking down stigma around mental health, which over the years has made a massive transformation, and we're really becoming more open and talking about it. But there's still that stigma there. So I'm really passionate about breaking those down and helping other people. So really my work is inspired by ancient practices and the latest in psychology. So my work sits in that intersection of spirituality, mental health, and also self-discovery. So it's with that passion and that need almost to help others navigate their life challenges, which is why I wrote the book Lucky Girl. So in the book, I share insights and stories from my own journey as well. And I'm a big believer that luck isn't solely some random thing. It's a state of mind shaped by our resilience and our self-compassion. And really the book is here to remind readers that they have the power to rewrite their stories, just like I did. So I found out that luck is really about mindset, intention, and believing in yourself. And yeah, I just hope that Lucky Girl will be a friend to anyone working towards a life filled with meaning, joy, and real connection. And I kind of just would love this book to inspire waves of kindness and positivity and self-love, and helping everyone realize of how worthy they really are of life's incredible blessings that it does have to offer.
Yeah, I feel that 2020 was a real pivotal moment for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people when it comes to questioning their choices in life, how they're showing up, and going deeper in self-development and spiritual
Yeah,
practices. And it did create this wave of content and things that were getting put online, which I'm here for completely, for the better, to help people look at their life and what it is that they want for their future. So when it comes to Lucky Girl and Lucky Girl syndrome, I know that it was trending, or it has been trending for a long time now. And you've touched already on the mindset aspects. What does
totally.
being a lucky girl mean to you? That's what I would love to hear.
That's such a good question. I mean, it's I truly believe it's more about stumbling across good fortune. It's about consciously creating a life where opportunities and abundance flow to you naturally. And ultimately, it's a mindset that aligns with the belief that we have the power to manifest our desires and attract positive energy. So, yeah, being a lucky girl to me is about tapping into your inner power, trusting the universe, and believing that you're worthy of all of the good that life does have to offer.
Yeah, for me, the biggest change that I've made, which I've seen have a huge impact on my life and how I
Mm,
feel, is my perspective on current situations. And that can be difficult for us depending on what life circumstances we're currently experiencing. So we often hear quotes such as everything happens for a reason. And I do personally like to believe that life is always happening for me.
mm,
So when things don't happen in the way that I wanted or hoped, I reframe and think maybe there's a different path, maybe there's something just around the corner that's so much better, and continue to go. What advice would you give to someone who is currently in a life position right now where things haven't worked out as maybe they had expected? Let's use the example of a relationship ending, and they thought that this person was their person and it's not worked out that way. So giving them a sense of hope, and also as well being able to allow them to feel the feelings that they have so they
mm.
don't have to suppress it. I would like to go deeper with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been, especially the example you given, I've been there. With ex-boyfriends that you think is going to be your soulmate and you were meant to be together, and suddenly the relationship doesn't work out and you're left heartbroken and thinking, why has this happened? But, you know, when you're in the trench of it, and like I said, trust me, I have been there far too many times in the past. It's awful. It's heartbreaking. It feels like, why me? And you're never going to get out of the trenches of this bad luck. And it is genuinely just the worst feeling. And then the cycle continues, and we find out more bad things are happening. So, I mean, it kind of goes back to people believe that they manifest this bad luck, and that's really when they develop this mindset where they're expecting things to go wrong. So the belief does come from past experiences or these deep-seated fears. So when you're in a constant state of worry or negativity, or you're heartbroken, you're unconsciously attracting more of the same into your life. And really the key here is shifting to a state of awareness. So firstly, acknowledging that negative thought pattern. We all have them, get them all the time, but being aware of that and making that conscious connection, and then to begin to reframe that. So things like practicing gratitude, visualization, success, visualizing the next partner coming along, say, for back to that example, and really tapping into your self-worth can help shift that mindset. But really, yeah, so basically, let's break it down. So step one, changing that narrative. People get stuck in a cycle of negativity because they come to expect those bad experiences. So consciously rewording the thoughts like, I always have bad luck, I can never find the right man or woman, I am creating these problems for myself. Changing that and reframing it to, I can create my own luck, or I'm capable of finding the right partner. And they start to shift that belief system. And I think affirmations are the best for this. Like, I wake up in the morning and I do my skincare and brush my teeth. And in the background, I'll have my affirmations on YouTube, which are free, just ticking away. Louise Hay does some great ones. And that just sets up my day. And even if I've had a crappy day the day before or a bad night's sleep or whatever, having that ticking away in the background is just helping me shift that mindset. And then secondly, we need to let go of the control, and especially back to the example of being heartbroken, a relationship hasn't worked out, we kind of hold on to all those feelings of what could have been and the injustice of it all, which is totally understandable as well. But if we hold tightly onto certain outcomes in life, they sometimes are just not aligned for our greater good. And really learning to trust the universe, that it does have a bigger plan for us, and that really does help us reduce that stress, take down the temperature, take down the heat, and allow then for more favorable outcomes to come flowing in our way. And that involves really the practice of surrender. It can be quite tough lovers. Okay, they're gone, there's nothing you can do about it, and actually being a bit tough on yourself almost, and surrendering into how you're feeling right now. It feels shit, but releasing that need for rigid control over how things should be or how things you want them to be unfold. Let it just unfold. And then I think the next good step would be to reframe what that situation is. So the failure you've experienced, the breakup you're going through, instead of viewing that as a massive setback or bad luck, maybe see it as a learning experience and a stepping stone into a better future, a better relationship. So when we see challenges as temporary and opportunities for growth, they really shift our focus from this defeat to resilience. And that mindset makes us more receptive to the lessons that will then lead us to future success. And then I think, and then two more things are raising our vibration in that space as well. So everything in our life, everything we come across is energy. Like attracts like, we know that. So if we feel like we're stuck in a pattern or bad luck, we might be operating at a lower vibrational frequency, such as fear, anger, doubt. And I think that's why practices as meditation, exercise, connect with nature, going for a walk, putting your face in the sunlight for 5-10 minutes, just anything like that, you can just lift up your spirits and surround yourself with positive people, for example, as well. Anything to raise up your vibration, because when we vibrate at a higher frequency, we attract higher vibe experiences. And that's really important, especially if you are overcoming a relationship. What you're then giving out to the universe out is basically principles of law of attraction. We want to be getting that back, and it's a great closure as well. I trust me on that one. And then finally, it's all about taking that inspired action. So manifestation is not just about the thoughts, it's the action that we do plays the most crucial role. So you can start taking those small inspired steps towards whatever your goal is. So if it is finding that new partner, what can you do now to shift from that space of being heartbroken to then finding your soulmate? What are those tiny little things that you can be doing? So they don't have to be these huge grand gestures. You don't have to go out for a full-on makeover and glow up, but just those tiny little things that were going to then move you into the right direction. So anything that's a proactive approach that helps you break this bad luck mentality, because it'll then empower you to create your own outcome.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned the law of attraction, the law of vibration, and there's also the law of focus. So if you're focusing on the lack or what is going wrong, you are then in turn going to see more of that. So it's keeping you in this cycle of, well, feeling as though things aren't working out. Whereas if you were to look back on your life overall to this point, things that haven't worked out, I don't know about you, Georgie, but things that hadn't worked out for me, I can look back and be as though and think, I'm so glad that it didn't happen that way, because it's led me on this path and it's taught me this lesson and it's created me into the person that I am today. So you can feel more empowered to change what is. It doesn't take away any of the feelings in the moment, of course, but it can give you that sense of faith that things are going to get better and things are going to progress.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's, yeah, like you said, it's so important to not take away, and nothing's not validating how you feel in that moment. But I'm, I honestly look, just scanning quickly back on my life right now there and all, and I've been through a lot of shit. It's everything has worked out for the better, even though it's completely derailed me at times. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like I can't believe I'm back here, square one. It's always led me to a higher purpose. I really do believe that. And yeah, so I think, like you said, the same. It's just not taking that away, though, from what you're currently experiencing.
Yeah. And I think it's a personal experience and it's beneficial to have support from a coach or therapist to navigate those
Mm.
seasons of your life, because when we're so in it, sometimes we can be really consumed by it. So reaching out and getting that guidance can help us shift in certain energies or processes that we're going through. Because I'm sure for yourself, Georgie, the subconscious mind and doing work within the subconscious, I know EFT tapping is a great way of connecting with the subconscious and the nervous system. That's a huge part of being able to change the beliefs that you're saying. And I know that you mentioned about affirmations too, but when we're able to program or reprogram the beliefs that we're having towards the future self or the lucky girl version of us, that's when our energy does shift and our vibration raises. So have there been any other practices that have really helped you? And is there any in particular that you would advise someone to begin to implement if they've fallen off track maybe with certain things, or they could be completely no?
I think, as like you just mentioned then, EFT tapping is so amazing for not only just rewiring our brain, tapping to subconscious, but also taking that sting of how we're feeling in the moment. So I do quite a lot of EFT with, people that have gone through a trauma, because it really helps them process it. And also, again, in that moment, accepting how you feel. So with the process of EFT tapping, the first step is to you acknowledge and honor how you accept with whatever's going on. So you can literally tap for anything in the world, anything, or sore finger, itchy eye. You can tap on anything, any issue, big or small. And it really just is about anchoring into the moment, accepting how you feel, and then working through the system to then take the charge away and really processing it, and then also moving into a way to safely release it from our bodies and our minds as well. So any minor inconvenience in my life, I am that person. You see me on the train, you see me in the supermarket, I am tapping myself in all areas. And I just, because it works. It works for me. There's not, there's never going to be one thing that one size fits all when it comes to healing. But tapping, it's quick, it's free, it's effective. Anyone can do it anytime away. And same with meditation, but I love meditation. I'm just, with ADHD, I'm not the best meditator. make a habit to at least try for 10 minutes a day. I really do. But with our busy brains, it is hard to quieten them down. So why I do love tapping, and again, like I'll just try and stick to 10 minutes of tapping a day. But why I love tapping is because you're addressing it is, and it's not about sitting and trying to be Zen-like and get to this higher state of awareness. You're actually going, yeah, I feel pretty rubbish right now, but here's how can I let this go? And I'm working through it. And then ultimately giving yourself that breathing space to address what's going on and then letting it go. So I am a big believer in tapping for so many reasons, but that's the main thing. Meditation's great. Again, affirmations are wonderful. And I think sometimes it can be just as simple as, but every night before I go to bed, I've got a little notebook that sits literally by my bedside table. And I just write 10 things I'm grateful for. And some days you might struggle to hit 10. So one or two is absolutely fine. Like and I think with gratitude, sometimes we overcomplicate it. We think it's got to be, I got this big promotion today, and it can be literally, I've got air in my lungs. I got out of bed today. All celebrating these small wins is super, super important. So I think with wellness, we do try to overcomplicate a bit, and again, that's why with the book I've tried to make it quite comprehensive and actionable and give the reader things to go away with and useful tools that they can implement straight away. That doesn't overcomplicate it, because we are busy, we have got a lot of stuff going on in our lives. So keeping things simple and not trying to, in an ideal world, we'd all love to be Zen Buddhist monks, and when someone beeps at us on the highway, we don't want to flip them off. That's the way to be, isn't it? But we're not like that. We're human at the end of the day. We've all got our feelings and our emotions, which is valid, but it's about dealing with them and in quick, easy ways that we can then just let go and make way for better things to come back in.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the practices that I love to do with gratitude is just writing down at the end of the day all of the good things that happened. So whether a stranger smiled at me, someone opened the door for me, a conversation that I had with the barista in the coffee shop, whatever it is, even if it doesn't seem huge and significant as you say, it still all adds up. And then you're able to look back and think, actually, there's been lots of positives that's happened today. There might have been a couple of things like the car example, but there's been so many more other things that outweigh that. So it helps you feel better already in yourself. And I totally agree with feeling overwhelmed of thinking that we have to do all of these things to be in our wellness scale era, or to be able to feel as though we're making progress with life. And really, if we think about lucky girl energy and lucky girl syndrome, it's how you're embodying that version of you now. And that's not necessarily about what you do. Of course, as we've already spoke about, aligned action's essential, but it's about your energetic field and how you see yourself to be. And I think that that is more important than doing all of these things on a to-do list. It might make you feel good in the moment, but then if your perspective is, oh, I've got all this to do and I've got all these other things as well, and then it stresses you out, it kind of defeats the purpose of why you do it in the first place. So I definitely noticed that. I would love to talk about self-belief and building self-belief and self-confidence. When I think of a girl or a woman who is embodied with like lucky girl energy, and she's attracting opportunities and she's seeing opportunities and she's putting herself out there and she's prioritizing herself, I see her really having this self-belief and confidence that she is worthy of what it is that she's working towards and manifesting. What has helped you to be able to cultivate your own sense of self-belief and self-confidence? I don't know, because I know that self-belief, confidence and worth are all slightly different. So I don't know whether the answer is a little bit different for them all, or whether they all interlink.
For me, for an example, I portray this quite, I think as well, like people I meet are like, oh, quite loud and this. And I think a lot of people assume that I'm quite extroverted, and I'm actually very introverted. I do suffer with social anxiety, and some days I'll be freaking out about nipping into Waitrose. It but the image I sometimes portray, it's that I've got my shit together, and I really don't a lot of 90% of the time. And yeah, I was with I met someone the other day, and they were like, oh, do you mind doing at an event, do you mind doing this introduction? And I was going, oh, I hate public speaking. And they went, oh, like, no, you're great at it, you're fine. But I think because I kind of give off that impression that I'm fine and enjoying it, whereas behind the scenes I'm like, oh, it's my worst nightmare. It really is. But over the years, I really have had to train myself to cultivate self-confidence, especially working in marketing, you know, going to pitches and pitching to some of the world's biggest clients. I remember pitching to Coca-Cola once, and I was an absolute wreck in the toilet, tapping like a crazy person beforehand, just trying to breathe because I had such bad anxiety about this pitch. But going into it, and we won the pitch, and it was, you know, just a very different way I've portrayed myself in literally a split second. So I really have worked on it through therapy and some other things I'll talk to you about in a minute, what I've kind of done. But it's about, you still want to be authentic to yourself. And if you are an introvert person, that's absolutely fine as well. But really cultivating self-confidence is essential when manifesting. And, you know, some quick tips, for example, what I've done is, one, going back to the gratitude, celebrating my small wins. So, you know, after that big pitch, I celebrated it because it was amazing. It was one of my biggest career achievements. And confidence grows when you acknowledge your progress in life. And again, that's no matter how big or small. It doesn't have to be a pitch to Coca-Cola. It can just be leaving the house and going into Aldi that day. So celebrate each step forward, completed task, new opportunity, personal breakthrough. Recognize that these wins is what's reinforcing yourself and your abilities. And then another thing I do is I like to start the day. So say I do have something coming up that I am quite nervous about, I'll try and visualize a successful outcome. And we all know visualization's a powerful tool. There's lots of research in the book I've put about it as well, with athletes and, you know, who will visualize that win. And there's loads of studies to back up the fact that when they do that, they get success. So if you can spend like a couple of minutes in the morning, closing your eyes, deeply breathing, picture yourself achieving what it is that you want to achieve that day, what it feels like, what it looks like, how you're going to feel once you have done whatever task that is, mentally rehearsing that success, you're going to train your brain and your mind to believing it's possible, which in turn boosts your self-confidence. So yeah, that's the second thing. The third thing, definitely affirming your self-worth. So, you know, that's why I think doing the affirmations in the mornings really does help me, especially, you know, dealing with social anxiety. Just tapping into that, I am worthy of success, or I do trust myself, or I attract opportunities, things like that. Like using those positive affirmations, especially daily, does remind you of, actually, you do have a lot of strengths and you are a very capable human. So do repeat those affirmations, and that's going to ultimately rewire your brain and tap into that self-confidence as well. And yeah, back to the small wins. To do that, it's ultimately important to step outside your comfort zone. It's awful, it's icky, we hate it. I saw a girl on TikTok that does these amazing series on rejection therapy. So she'll put herself in the most horrific, it makes me feel ill thinking about it, but she does it for this form of rejection therapy. But you don't have to be that extreme, but you do have to, from time to time, step outside your comfort zone. And confidence is built through action. So regularly challenge yourself to go outside the comfort zone, facing those fears that you've been putting off. Every time you're taking that action, despite the uncertainty or how it's going to look or that fear of failure, by doing so, your confidence grows, because you're proving to yourself you can handle challenges, you can handle this stuff that's going to get thrown your way. And yeah, so focus on your strength, but also be kind to yourself as well in that process, because with confidence, the reason we've got such a lack of it nowadays is because we're so eroded by negative self-talk and we're not kind to ourselves. So look, that so many things in life don't go as planned, but practicing that self-compassion, treating yourself with literally the same encouragement you would give to your friends, do it for yourself, because that's what's building inner resilience and confidence. And finally, I think as well, like, learn from everything as well. So confidence is competence, and competence does grow with the knowledge that we gain for ourselves. So always keep learning, always keep improving. There's always going to be things, you know, if you're like me and sometimes something doesn't go our way, we beat ourselves up for days about it after, going, why did I do that, why did I say that? But it's that's all a learning experience, and you can improve the next time as well, which is the amazing thing about life. We can go again, we can. So, keep working on your personal development, invest in yourself, and get back to that belief that you can succeed as well. So taking those above steps, it's not easy, but it does help you create that self-confidence, and that it's certainly worked for me. Again, like, I've got an event next week. I'm already in the night thinking about it and nervous about it, but I'm not going out there saving lives. I'm just going to go and talk to people for a bit. It's not the worst thing in the world, but we go again. So it's a continuous process, and it does come up in time. I'm not saying you're just going to be super, super, uber confident, as amazing as that would be, but you're growing, and that's the most important thing.
Wow. I imagine everyone is taking all the notes right now, because it was amazing advice. And I wanted to
spitball quite a bit.
it was, so much value there and everything. I'm like, yeah, I agree. And I want to just bring in, you mentioned about visualization and living in the end result. Are you familiar with Neville Goddard?
Yes.
The manifestation teacher. He talks a lot in his work, doesn't he, about living in the end result, and the time when you're falling asleep is perfect to visualize you as not just like watching yourself, but through your own eyes in the image of the wish already fulfilled. So achieving the goal or having the particular outcome. And when you're able to do that during that time that your brainwave patterns are changing, you're then feeling the energy of that version of you. And over time, there's no specific timeline for it, how quickly it can happen. It will manifest and it will come into fruition. Have you ever found, I'm curious to know from your own experiences, that life is almost as though it's happened and then you've got to this point and you're like, wow, I've actually created so many things. I've got these opportunities, this speaking event next week, like the old me would have loved that to happen. Have you just realized that it's all come as almost so natural as you've been doing the work?
Yes and no, because I think what a big trap of manifestation is like, and there's a whole chapter about this not issue, but in the book, is we tend to always go, I'll be happy when. And
Yeah.
I'm such a prisoner, especially in the past, of living in I'll be happy when. When I've achieved that, that's when I'll be happy. That's when I know I've healed. That's when I know I've hit the life jackpot. And it's just not a way to live life ultimately. I think absolutely visualizing the end result and working towards that, but also factoring that things will change. What I was manifesting last year is very, very different to what I'm manifesting at the moment. Couldn't be more different. Okay, so you have to be quite flexible when it does come to manifesting, and that's something that I've learned. But it's also about going back to as well being grateful for what you do have. Some people really do have nothing at the world, and they really can't get, it's not easy for them to manifest at all because they can't escape wars or escape abuse. And it's really coming back to, so we can't compare it, and there's so many different levels to manifestation as well. But I think with me at the moment, yes, I try and in my gratitude list, right at the end of the day, like celebrating those small wins, big or small. And I do feel like I've accomplished a lot in this year. There was something that wasn't going, I've had a lot of rejection and failure, especially the last couple of years with my businesses. And it's about going again. So really building that resilience arm as well. And yeah, just allowing some flexibility in what the goals, because the goals posts will always shift in life. That we don't know what's around the corner or what the universe has in store for us, but ultimately trusting that the process is unfolding how it should, and not letting those setbacks really derail us and take us back to square one, but how we can work forward and yeah, be flexible. And sometimes it's, the things I've manifested last year that did come true have served me such great purpose. But like I said, the thing I put out, my goal for this year, is completely different. So if I wasn't flexible, if I was very rigid and no, I must keep to what the plan is, I wouldn't be experiencing this amazing experience I'm going through now. So really be open, really be receptive, and yeah, allow for that flexibility to come in when manifesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Not having this, it has to happen in this way. And completely agree with the I'll be happy when mentality, because when we do that energetically, I find we're placing our manifestations on a pedestal. And from
Yeah.
a vibrational stance, that they're not in alignment, because it feels so out of reach, because we're having that sense of mentality and energy towards it. Whereas when we turn our energy inwards and implement the practices that we've spoken about in this episode, what begins to happen is you start to become more in alignment with that version of you, because you're so grateful with who you are, what you have. And as you touched on, the self-talk, how we speak about ourselves, and not feeling that our sense of worth comes from our accomplishments and what we're doing. And it's more about how we feel about ourselves, and knowing if we're showing up for ourselves, that builds a level of self-confidence too. So yeah, it definitely all interlinks, doesn't it, when you think about it and how it can start to form. I would love to hear a bit about whatever you feel comfortable sharing with. What would you say has been the biggest manifestation that you've had in your life?
I think since really succumbing to the idea of law of attraction manifestation, I have been very, very shocked actually. Again, some things that I've manifested and it's turned out the different way, but having that trust has been really pleasantly surprising. And looking back now, I can safely say, wow, I'm truly am so grateful that that manifestation didn't come in, because something even better has come along. But biggest manifestation, off the top of my head, would 100% be writing the book to date anyway, because it was, the book is something that I've always loved writing. I'm such a journaler. I have to do that in the mornings, just write down how I feel. And, you know, just having that, the process of writing has been really like, it's therapy for me, really. And getting that idea, so it was, what year are we in now? Last January, so 2023. It was, yeah, this is how quick it all happened, to be honest. I was on holiday in India, having a bit of a spiritual holiday, and I was just writing about, things that have helped me over the years, and wellnesses practices that I've done that have really stuck out, and just kind of writing that down. And then it was when TikTok was really coming about, this trend of lucky girl syndrome. So using the two of them, I was kind of formulating this sort of narrative. And I was like, okay, this is something here that's got a bit of legs. And kind of again got back home, started writing, literally spent the whole 10-hour plane journey back to the UK just writing the whole time, getting everything out. I was like a woman possessed, I really was. Knew Wanted to send that out straight away to a publisher and pitch it out. So I did. That got straight away rejected. And I was kind of like, all right, okay, yeah, the feedback. They said nice feedback, but not a great book idea. Fine, whatever. But it really did hurt me. And I don't deal with I mean, getting better at it now. But rejection is something, especially having ADHD, any minor insignificance of life, I see that as a failure. So I was like, okay, well, that's the book not going to happen then. And then honestly, it was if by magic. So this is coming into February, March time. Yeah, that's how quick it was. Actually got a publishing deal with Wiley, and The team were amazing. They were so excited about the book, which got me really excited. So yeah, I pitched that out to them and got the contract, and then really started formatting it into a book and writing for a couple of months straight. And yeah, so literally from that, it was a project, it was a dream, and it's genuinely unfolded through intention, belief, and also action as well. So I always knew that I wanted to share my insights of manifestation, wellness, but the idea of writing a book felt so far out of reach. But I did use the principles I talk about in the book itself. So I got really crystal clear on what the intention was of the book. I visualized the potential impact the book could have on people's lives and saw that as a tool. And yeah, I did, daily affirmations, because again, I'm not an author, I'm not a qualified author at all, but telling myself when I'm especially doing the writing process, I am an author, I have a car, like I can do this. Even before beginning writing any words, that just helped build that confidence and align my mindset with someone that is capable of completing a book. And throughout the writing process, I really did lean in on every manifestation technique I've written about. But yeah, through everything, it's all been about action. So setting those small manageable goals for myself, trusting the right resources, people, inspiration, and trusting that the support as well, that all that would show up. And it really did. So I'm not going to say it was all very romantic, the whole process, but there was a lot of challenges that arose throughout the whole process, a lot of creative blocks. But instead of seeing them as signs to quit, which I would have done that in the past, I would have been like, oh hell no, this is too much, I reframed that as part of the journey, and I trusted the timing, knowing that the universe will guide this project. And in the end, not only did the book come together, but it also has, it's been released. The process from start to finish was about 10 months, so just under a year. But through the book, so many things that I haven't anticipated, like collaborations, interviews, chance to talk to you, Laura, and hopefully inspire others on their manifest journey as well. So that whole experience has just reaffirmed to me that when I do combine intention and action and stay aligned with whatever vision that I do have, the universe is co-conspiring to help me succeed in that sense. So yeah, this is kind of, so manifestation the whole, but especially with this book, it's taught me trust the process, stay patient, incredibly patient, and also believe in the power of my own potential.
And it's such an amazing book that is something that anyone can follow, no matter where they're at on the self-development journey, whether you're brand new or you've been into it for a while and you want that refresh. And I love that you've brought up how you faced rejection and you did face some challenges and how that didn't hold you back. Because I think in the self-development space now, we've kind of been fooled in some ways into believing that in order for something to be aligned and in order for something to happen, it all flows naturally and well. And it's not always the case, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not meant for you. It just requires that level of grit and persistence and being resourceful and thinking outside the box and problem solving. And then that will help you create and attract and achieve the things that you're working towards. So I don't know whether you've experienced it with clients, friends, people in your circle, where there's been this belief, well, if it's not happening, maybe it's not meant to be. And I know it's so unique because sometimes it can be a sign, and then in many ways it's just an opportunity to think outside the box and try again.
Absolutely. And I myself, I go through that process as well. I'm definitely guilty of going, oh, it's not, but again, like you said, working through that.
Yeah, I do love that you're so transparent about that as well, because I think a lot of people would look at someone like yourself and think, oh, she doesn't go through these things. She must, people make these assumptions, oh, she must be so confident, or she mustn't face rejection. And it's really important that people see that no matter what stage you're at, you're still going to go through those feelings because you're human and you're having a human experience. So it's going to come with challenges. So I think it's great that you're able to share that with people.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no filter with me. I just kind of, but I think
I
it
love
is
it.
so important as well. Like, there's a lot of teachers that I look up to and go, wow, like they are, they're amazing. They really do have everything together. They've got the answers to everything, and they're human at the end of the day. And I remember, even my own negative self-chatter, like, what am I qualified to be speaking about this? But and I think that's a common misconception. Like, I am not an oracle. I don't have all the answers. I'm just a human that's sharing their lived experiences and things that have worked, things that haven't worked. And oh my gosh, like, when you have lived with depression and mental health struggles, no, there's never, you do understand that no day is ever going to wake up and it's sunshine and rainbows. No, you don't know what's fate around the corner, how you're going to feel when you get out of bed in the morning. But it's riding that wave of life as well. So I'll never portray that everything's picture perfect. I like to bring a lot of humor into my life, my story, my practices as well, because ultimately we've got to laugh at the end of the day and laugh at ourselves as well. And like, there's so many times where we just take life a bit too seriously, and we've got to have that humor with it as well, because we're human at the end of the day.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it gives the sense of imposter syndrome when we're putting pressure on ourselves to feel that we have to show up all of the time perfect, and then we think, well, we're not good enough because we've created this narrative or this sense of this is how we have to be. And if it's not true to you, then it will never feel good, because it's not helping you to then be able to feel like, well, I'm showing the parts that I'm choosing to show, but it feels right for me to do that, instead of it completely being false. That's what I've found anyway.
Yeah. What is perfect? There is no such thing.
There's no such thing. But as women, there's a lot of pressure to have that sense of perfection and to create and show up in a certain sense, which can then start to impact our sense of confidence and belief and all of those things. So, in terms of the book, where can people find it if they would like to get themselves a copy?
Oh, wow. If you would like to get a copy, that is just music to my ears. But it on Amazon, it's at Waterstones, WH Smith, all the UK, the UK providers, and also it is with Barnes and Noble. I can't remember the Irish name as well, which is terrible. But yeah, ultimately Amazon. And then you can follow me on Instagram, which is at Lucky Collective 11 as well. And I try and do daily inspiration and tips on manifestation and wellness insights as well.
Amazing. Georgie, honestly, I could continue talking to you for probably another hour about this.
I know,
And
I feel the same.
have you got any final, I don't know, maybe words of wisdom or piece of advice you'd like to leave the listeners with to finish this episode off?
Oh, yes. I think just knowing that we all are lucky girls at the end of the day. Again, we all have this power inside of us to create the life we want. It's just being patient with it and trusting the timing, trusting the universe. But ultimately, it is up to us to take that action and move forward. But you can do it. If I can do it, you certainly can.
Amazing. Georgie, this episode has been jam-packed with so much value. I'm really grateful that we were able to make it work. And yeah, I know that the listeners are going to love it.
Oh, thank you, Laura.